Mm, mm, right. Let's hit this record button. Okay. Good morning. Oh, did not hit record yet. Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Z, also known as Dr. Zary Gross of Greater Self LLC. You're joining me this morning on the Freedom Tea Talk with Dr. Z. We are recording live for podcast and YouTube, all the things on all the channels. So, whichever channel you happen to join on, welcome. Thank you for joining and visiting with us today. Do feel free. This is an interactive process. So, if you have questions, thoughts, or concerns, by all means, feel free to drop something in the chat and we will be sure to answer your questions. If you've been following, I tend to drop the topic the day before of what we will be talking about or things we'll be exploring. Today is a tea day, literally, tea for Tuesday, and also looking at transformations. So what that kind of looks like is, if you notice the topic, it says FAQs or FAFO. To be fair, there is a gentleman that I saw on Instagram, and when I saw the post, I I literally was crying laughing. It was so funny to me, and I was like, that makes so much sense. And I was like, yep, FAFO, that's about to be me all day, every day, for various different reasons. So FAQs, if you all are familiar, most businesses, companies, people that provide services, you will see an FAQ on their webpage, their site, somewhere in some place. You typically get information about frequently asked questions. Those questions were established because at some point in time, what the person may have noticed is that they consistently seem to keep answering the same questions. Instead of individually answering that same question all the time, they created frequently asked questions, which also gives people the opportunity to explore maybe more things that they're curious about without having to deal with the ideal or the syndrome of, oh my gosh, I'm going to ask a stupid question, which is usually not stupid at all. But again, sometimes we get a little worried, a little subconscious about ourselves and about being able to put ourselves out there and ask questions, especially in public, if it's about something that you can find the information. At this point, now you can Google. Back in the day, way, way back, you'd have to go to a library, find an encyclopedia. Some of your families may have had the Encyclopedia Britannicas on your bookshelves, and that was like a whole thing. I don't know why, but the frog page intrigued me the most, like, because it had the little plastic sheets there, but I digress. That was how you could find answers to things historically. Now with us having access to Google and just so many different platforms to be able to find information, frequently asked questions is a standard. It's an expectation. You should be able to find common answers that would immediately pop up in the event of someone wanting to receive a service, buy certain clothing or different things. Like people want to know about return policies. That ends up being like a frequently asked question. Hence, there's whole policies now. So some of them morph into not just questions that can be answered for everyone, but also into actual policies. Most of you, if you've ever worked at a job or have created your own businesses, you recognize there is a need and necessity for SOPs or policies, handbooks, employee handbooks that give specific information so people can find the answers to what it is they're looking for. These usually stem from people getting to a point of asking similar questions on a regular basis, like, hey, what am I going to get paid? Not a bad question to ask, but if you have either an actual handbook or something established, it makes it easier to find these answers and for people to feel empowered that they're able to do so. I don't know about you all, but sometimes I find myself wanting to do certain things or explore new services or new ways of like taking care of myself or just stuff for fun. And one of the things that I like to go look at is what do they say I'll be able to receive if I do it? And then how can I go about experiencing that? One of the places that is supportive, aside from the reviews, because of course people like to find out, well, what was your experience, is to look at the frequently asked questions where they pretty much outline some of the things that if it didn't come up immediately, it probably will soon. Part of why this particular podcast and Tea Talk was about FAQs versus FAFO is that, and please understand, this can translate not just to businesses, but also in regards to relationships. So there are questions that people may ask when you engage in different versions and levels of relationships, which could be employment, romantic, friendships, business endeavors, that there's a benefit of having some common things that are established that can be researched and gone back to on a regular basis so that there's the consistency of the information being processed. When we get to a point where, again, they become significant enough, it ends up becoming a policy. Someone has a whole handbook that comes out with it. FAFO, which just to be fair, highly entertaining to myself. Hence the meme that I saw, and I totally can't wait. Hey, to figure out where it is so I can share it on my stories afterwards. But what I saw was this gentleman that had a line. He said, if you look at an X and a Y axis, like you remember math, I love math. Everybody doesn't feel that way. That's fine. Not a problem. He was sharing about FAFO. And what that looked like is like, if you keep FA, then you will FO. And why it was so entertaining to me is because a lot of times people will bypass those frequently asked questions where you could have gotten the answer you were looking for, but instead they just go head first into things. And then what happens is you F around and find out. And that is what FAFO is. F around, you find out. So you keep effing around, you're going to end up finding out. And where you're at on that grid or graph will totally make a difference based on what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. So let's say you're starting a new relationship. You read the frequently asked questions about this particular person. You've asked them, you've gotten info from, whatever profile you might be able to find of theirs, wherever, if you do Google searches or find people online. Just the same as with jobs. You go, you search their sites, you see what people say about it, you read the reviews, and then when you do that, usually you'll make a choice or decision that makes sense based on the information that was available to you, those frequently asked questions. When you don't do that, you pretty much are setting yourself up to F around and find out. The reason people give you info and resources to find out things is so you can decrease the amount of times you F around and find out different stuff. When you were younger, living was all about, let's see how much stuff I can get into and if I'm going to survive afterwards. There's a certain element of youth and there's no need to let it go, but you can totally do it more strategically where you don't believe that you could ever die or that something could ever happen to you, like you're invincible, like you can do any and everything all the time, which is great. The cool part is you do keep living as long as you keep living. But sometimes there are things that are blatantly clear. You shouldn't do it. They've made whole policies for places. They've made warning signs. They've made labels that say, hey, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And other folks are like, well, I'm still going to do this. And I don't care what happens over here. Or I'm just going to figure it out instead of taking the knowledge and info you had access to, which comes from minimally frequently asked questions like, hey, if I go bungee jumping and I don't harness myself incorrectly, am I going to be okay? Most frequently asked questions, and people would say, no, probably not a great chance. But if you're willing to keep effing around and find out, I guess we'll either one, see you on the news because it didn't work, or two, you'll find some way to create and do something that was spectacular that allowed you to continue to keep living. Neither is guaranteed to go well, which is why you follow the things that you've been given access to and information so that you can do stuff in a way on purpose, intentionally, that will allow you to produce the results you're looking for. When you don't do that or give yourself permission or time to do the research, to ask the questions, to find the reviews, to check with the people, I'm just going to say it like you fuck around and find out. And the problem with that is, depending on where you're at in your career and the dreams and goals that you're setting in life, what you may end up finding out because you were fucking around is that you don't know what you needed to know. You may not have the team you needed to have to do the things you want to do. The folks that are supposed to be in your corner and support you can't, because you're not clear on what it is you're doing. You're not in a position of clarity and authenticity with yourself that would allow you the opportunity to be able to help and support other people and have them be able to help and support you, because you're still effing around and finding out the hard way. This is where and why people find themselves in those positions where, and especially if you've ever wanted to create something for you and say, it's all mine, I did it all by myself. That's cool. That hyper independence, which usually stems from trauma, a whole nother topic. That's great until you get burnt out. When you're out here in your 50s, 70s, and 80s, and it's like you're still doing everything by yourself, and you never gave yourself an opportunity to access how other people have done it, how they have been able to be successful, how they have been able to create the things they're looking for, and do it well. Do it well, do it consistently, do it in a way that even allows them to help other people. You put yourself in a perpetual cycle of fucking around and finding out that you didn't know what you needed to know, or you didn't know it in the capacity that would have been supportive to you. Not a problem unless you actually are in charge of other people's lives. You're responsible for other things that need to be happening. And when you are playing Russian roulette with all of what you have accessible to you in life, you are putting other people's lives in danger as well as your own. And not like actual physical danger. My thoughts and views are, chances are, if you're listening, you're not someone that is actively putting someone's physical life in danger, but you could be putting your livelihood in danger. You could be putting someone else's livelihood in danger. One of the reasons people seek support from coaches, from therapists, from mentors, from even going to school, depending on what it is, and getting certifications or just continuing to educate themselves, is so that they don't have to keep effing around and finding out that they do or don't know what they needed to know. They give themselves permission to actually get support from people that have been vetted, that are willing to share their experiences and how they may have perpetually been in a state of effing around and finding out, and found out that that's not even how they want to do things. They actually do want it to come with ease. They do want relationships that, I don't want to say feel effortless, but are in a position and in a flow that makes sense, that everyone is able to get their needs met because everyone's really clear about what it is they need. They were able to access some frequently asked questions for various different scenarios of how you engage with that person, to be able to set a foundation that really works for you, to establish the core values of how you want to do this particular relationship, to be in a space where, okay, I will do this, you do that. We are both in agreement that this is what is going to make the most sense for both of us to get our needs met and to be able to further build each other's collective things that we're looking to do. When you see coaches, other people that are collaborating and working together, and sometimes you may have heard it's like maybe affiliate programs, or like even I would say MLM companies, like when you see those multi-level like companies where people are like, oh, okay, work under me, I'll be your coach, and then I'll train you, and then you get other people under you. While those can have whatever stigmas they may have about them, One of the things that I can say in regards to an FAQ versus an FAFO is that those types of companies typically build an infrastructure that really does support people being able to learn how to utilize and access other people's successes to now model and mold how they would like to show up and the successes they would like to create. The unfortunate part is that depending on what it is or the product, people seriously may have some different experience of what that's like. And that can make the process more of an FAFO instead of like effectively using FAQs. With that being said, just because something seems a particular way, it doesn't hurt to check out what were some of the things that were said about it. How has it been helpful? What are those questions that people have asked before, and what are the responses? Were those responses actually supportive to the questions that were being asked? Or are people just out here recklessly going and making choices, doing things, and then finding out the hard way that is not what they were looking for? One of the things that I can say that you probably can see FAFO happen most frequently is with kids. It's like they're learning. So they're learning everything. They're learning, who am I? What do I want to be doing? How do I want to be doing it? And they tend to do stuff and challenge parents, especially by doing whatever the heck they want to. And a lot of kids are effing around and finding out that either their parents are solid and they are going to maintain boundaries and set standards for them to live up to so that they have an opportunity for growth as a productive, well-rounded human being, or their parents may not be in a space where they can do that. And that's the child that ends up in a position where they F around and find out a lot of things that they, if their parents were in a better space, maybe they would have been able to avoid that hard lesson. And then there's those folks that they just always got to learn the hard way. They are on constant, consistent F around and find out. And the thing is, when people engage with them, they also find themselves in those same type of scenarios with them. They thought it was cool. They messed around. They found out none of this is what they thought it would be or how they thought it would go. And yet here everyone is trying to figure out, okay, so what are some of the questions we can now update to this interaction, this engagement, this way of existing or being, so that other people don't have to keep going down this path, although some will, but everyone doesn't have to. So with that, I'm just kind of wondering, does anybody have any questions, thoughts, or concerns or experiences of maybe you found yourself in a constant state of effing around and finding out, or better yet, other people seem to maybe test or challenge you where they, they were effing around, they were pushing the buttons, they were saying the things, and the people had to find out that you actually were significantly more amazing than they believed you would be. You were extremely more capable of doing the things that you said you would do, and you were even able to exceed expectations to the point you may have chosen and decided that you would no longer provide whatever that looked like, because the person was so bent on finding out what you asked them to just let be and just enjoy what was working well. Ever been in a situation, and I mean, you can drop emojis if this is something familiar or something you've experienced, and it doesn't matter which one you put in there, but you found yourself in a space where you kept coming across similar problems and you took it upon yourself to start creating a list of things that you could answer these questions, that it would allow someone else to have a better experience just based on how your experiences went. That you tried to do things a particular way because you wanted it to be different. You didn't want to be like everyone else or how they said you would be. And you tried it and you found out ultimately the reason why people do it this particular way is because historically, these are the results that would happen when you try to do it differently. Not that there was any ill or malice behind it, but historically, if you keep doing a process a particular way, you'll keep getting results that will give you data that will let you know what's the most effective way to do it instead of consistently FAFOing everything and then completely ignoring the opportunities to create some FAQs that will really be supportive to you. When you're looking at different states of functioning and you're going through, like SET, you're going through surviving, existing to thriving, or maybe even leveling up to your greater self, FAFO works until it doesn't. At some point, you want to create for yourself some FAQs that are really going to be supportive towards what it is you want to be doing next. So you don't have to keep being stuck in survival mode or being stuck in just existing when your desire may be to be thriving or to be the greatest version of yourself. FAFO does not, in a negative sense, would not allow you to be the greatest version of yourself, but also literally in the positive, if you keep doing the things you're doing, you keep effing around and showing up and being great, being awesome, demanding what you want, giving your all and going all in on what you care about, you'll F around and find out that you really are exactly what you believed you were and more. And that people can't wait to actually work with you or be around you or have access to you just because you took that bet on yourself. You took a chance on you. You showed up for you and you kept showing up, not so much for the other people, but for you, so that you could say that you did this for yourself. You created your own FAQs that you were like, yeah, I'm just going to keep being great so that I keep finding out how much greater I can continue to be, how much more I can continue to help other people because I keep being willing to invest in me and be great for myself. Can't say there's a whole bunch more I wanted to add to that. I feel like that's a really good space that if there are any thoughts, questions, or concerns, I would love to hear any takeaways from just some of the things I shared, and do anticipate that you'll be seeing hashtags at FAFO. And my goal is to try to figure out a way to share the things that are hilarious to me that allow me to feel more comfortable with what that looks like, as well as embrace and embody it in a way that doesn't have to have a negative impact, but actually is supportive to myself. Like, okay, mess around and find out that I can get snatched even faster than I thought I could for the summer. Yes, summer bodies are coming in. If you aren't working on your summer body yet, you might be behind the power curve, but it's not too late. You FAFO that you actually can get to where you want to get to by the summer, by whatever that date is that you're looking for. You could be looking at a financial goal. F around and find out. Let me find out that you actually believed in yourself and went all in and decided that you're not taking anything less than what you came there for. I can't say that there's anything you could lose from that, except the things that you no longer wanted anyways. So any takeaways, any thoughts, concerns on any of the platforms, just what are you willing to maybe go FAFO on in all the ways that are going to be supportive, instead of blindly going into it and literally finding out something you weren't looking for. I think by now my tea should also be ready. And, it's totally cool if people feel a little bit shy about sharing on the platforms, because I get it. You might not want your whole business put out there right now. Feel free to send like DMs later. And if you're really feeling it, you can totally shoot us a text message at 626-722-5661. Hey, thanks for joining. We were just talking about FAFO and, FAQs and what those differences look like and how people can join. But you guys are more than welcome to text anytime, topics, concerns, takeaways, things you'd like to show up on the Tea Talks. Maybe people that I might know that you would love to have us do a podcast together and just share maybe what they've got going on or how that's going. If you'd like to work with me, by all means, feel free to shoot me an email, shoot a text. Email is info@greaterself.org. And then again, text at 626-722-5661. We've definitely got some events coming up. And depending on whenever you hear this podcast, always check our link for what events are currently happening and who we may be partnering with, because I like to partner with great people to do great things. So, check them out. There's enough support to go around for everybody. There's no need or necessity to be like, I'm not sharing people's stuff. That's stupid. So feel free, send us a message, send us a DM, let us know if this is working for you. Do tune into the podcast. Can I still watch while I'm having coffee? You're supposed to. It's either coffee or tea. The only thing is we are almost at our time for the morning. So the replay will probably be up very, very soon. You can totally go back through, check it out. I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. And I guess I will not be seeing you on Thursday because Thursdays will be reserved for guests only now, unless there's something super major happening, which could be in April. Thursdays will be for the people, but you guys can see me here on Tuesdays every week. All right. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing day. And like I said, I look forward to seeing y'all later. All right. Bye.